So one thing I'm noticing right now across these markets, the indices, we've got the Nasdaq, the Dow, the Russell, the Dow, even the S&P 500. They're all doing something really similar, but mainly the Russell, but also the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. And that is, if you go and have a look at this through here, right? Notice how we've actually been going up for quite some time through here. We've been just going up and up and up. And as you can see that even through these very big bull phases, even back here through the COVID situation, you can see that we actually have these, what's called a 10, that there is a 10% correction. All right, so even in these very big bull phases, we go through these 10% corrections in the markets from there. And so we can see that what through there. And so this actually hasn't had a 10% correction apart from what we happened through here. So one thing I'm watching for right now is that we're probably likely to get a breakout. That's what I'm expecting, a bit of a breakout here. But if it breaks out to the upside and we get to say to 7,000 and then it fails, then we're likely to see something like that. And then we're likely to see a much, much, much bigger correction. And that's where I'm seeing a good 8 to 10% correction out of the markets from here. Because we actually haven't had a 10% correction apart from the tariff situation this entire year. And we're being pretty high to the upside. So one thing I'm watching for right now is that firstly, we're probably likely to get this breakout like we're seeing through here. And what you want to see is you want to watch for the potential reversal, right? Because sometimes what can happen is that you get these sort of market hits resistance, hits resistance. You go through it and you break out like to the upside, but then it fails and it comes straight back down through there. And if you get something like that happening here, then it's probably going to be game over for the bulls initially, for the short term anyway. And then we're probably likely to see some sort of correction out of the markets here. So firstly, I do see a breakout, I do see a push to all-time new highs, but then we need to watch really, really carefully because the market's going to give us an early warning sign to see that this is likely to come from here. And what I'm watching for, if I zoom right in, is once again, if we see this level here, and this is the S&P, and just say, for example, we do actually get a breakout here, right? So let's just say we get a breakout here, and we break through there, and then we start to come back down through there like that. That's a very weak sign. Or what we may see is we may see even something like this, where if it breaks to the upside like that, and then goes like that, and then completely fails like that. If that happens, then we're probably likely to rally, and then we're likely to start to see a nice, healthy correction in the markets from here. So that's what's happening on the S&P. And this is the same for the Nasdaq as well too. Okay, we just had, look at this here. We just had an extraordinary bull move. And even in these very big bull phases, we go through these drops, big drops, even through here, right? There's a big drop, there's a big drop, right? So we don't just keep going up. We just don't do that, right? We go through these phases through. So one thing I'm watching for right now is, one, we're probably likely to break to the upside. So we're probably likely to push like that. But then what actually happens after that? Because if it starts to reverse roll over like this here really quickly, then that's probably going to start to see a nice healthy correction. Maybe coming even in November as well too. So it looks like that's what may be setting up from there as well too. Even the Russell, one thing I'm watching for the Russell right now is what actually happens. Do we get back below this support level here? Because if we get back below this support level, then we're probably likely to see a lot more movement on the downside here. So one thing I also want to share with you guys is the interest rates. One of the big markets I've been seeing right now when it comes to these markets in general is just these interest rates here and what's going on. You can see clearly now that if I bring this up through to here somewhere, like somewhere through there, you can see how that we were in this very big sort of strong bullish environment through here. But now we've actually now we're closing down. Now we're coming down through to here. And we're now rolling over here on the interest rates. So the interest rates are really starting to roll over here, making these lower highs, and the moving average is coming down. So we're probably likely to see this thing sinking on the downside from here in that through there. Even that's the 10-year. This is the 30-year. The same situation. We were going to the upside massively, but look what's starting to happen here. Okay, look what's starting to happen. We've broken down now. We were at this level here, as you can see. Let me take that off the screen. All right, so you can see we were breaking up. Now we're breaking down. So even though we're getting actually a little bit of short-term bounce today, I'm expecting up through there, and then I'm expecting a rollover down to this level, low level down through here as well too. That's why one of my personal trades anyway has been the TMF market, because as this goes up through there, TMF, as you can see, TMF is actually starting to rise through here. I got in this a couple of weeks ago, so I'm in this right now, and you can see this thing starting to rise. So I'm expecting things like TMF to go up and go down and come back up and come back down and go back up, and I'm expecting it to have a nice rise back up towards the 65. Now this is through the next 12 months, guys. That's not the next 1 week or 2 months. So as all of 2026 starts to unfold, I'm expecting these sort of targets to come in play. Just need to be patient. Need to be patient with all that happening right there as well too. Back onto the USO market, and look what happened with the USO today. USO actually clearly broke above this major level of support. We could be getting a bit of a bottoming pattern here. Really strong bounce from here. So what actually happens here? One thing I'm watching for to see what actually happens. There we go. That's better for you, or that's better what I'm looking at, is this level through here. So we have this level coming down through to here, and we have this major level support. If we can hold here for a bit, maybe do something like this, and then break out, we're probably likely to see a nice rise to the upside in the oil market. So this actually could be a major bottoming pattern right now in the oil market before we actually see some movement to the upside there. And this also goes same with the energy sector as well too. The energy sector has been doing nothing here, but the long-term charts, my long-term this is my long-term logarithmic charts. And my long-term logarithmic charts tells me that yes, we've been doing nothing for 3 years. This is nothing for 3 years here. Absolutely nothing for 3 years. So, but that tells me that my logarithmic charts tells me that if the energy sector does start to over the next say 6 months, if we start to break above 100, then the energy sector is going to be the new great market. I'm expecting a 1 to 2 year bull market if we get something like that out of the energy sector from there as well too. Moving on now through to the good old Bitcoin as well too. So this is the good old Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been doing nothing through here. It's actually just made a slight lower low, and now we're just sort of just rolling over. Let me actually bring on all the moving averages here. Yeah, so what I'm actually expecting to see right now is I'm expecting to see this thing do nothing through here and then come back down through this level around about the $70 level here. That's on the GPTC as well too. So that's what I'm expecting to see happening through there. Looking at things like Ethereum as well too. So Ethereum for me right now is, I believe Ethereum this is just a setup for a really big move to come. And what I mean by that is that we can see we're at this level here. We actually made a slight higher high. This whole move up, now for the last couple months, we're getting a bit of a pullback. Moving average coming up. I wouldn't be too surprised to see Ethereum here hold and then start to pick back up and go for another move as well too. I think this is the very first leg up in a very big bull market. And bull markets go up, they have a pullback, go up and they have a pullback. And that's what we're seeing from there as well too. So let's go have a look at the gold and silver price today as well too. And let's actually look at this here. So this is the silver price. Silver price has actually had very, 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 very big extraordinary moves through here. So right now, what's going to happen, at least for the next, I would say at least for the rest of this year, guys, we're probably not going to see much more out of the metals and the miners, right? Typically, what happens when we start to go through these phases is that we could get a bit of a bid through here, and then it comes back down. We typically this is what's called a time phase in my trading here. So the time phase here is where we get very, see how that's a sideways? It's very, very, very volatile. And this is the same thing for gold, right? And as you can see through here, whenever the markets go through these time phases, resting phases, you can see how they can be there. See, there's an example through here, right? Up and down, up and down, up and down, very volatile, but they don't move for a while. So that's what I'm expecting here. Up, we may get a new high from here, through there, but I'm expecting not much now for the gold market. The bull market initially is over for gold, and we're going to go through at least another one of these what's called time phases and the resting phases from here as well too. Looking at the actual GDX and the GDX, this is actually the long-term chart here on the GDX here on the weekly chart, and that's that major support level there. So I'm actually expecting out of the GDX, I'm not expecting too much of a drop out of the GDX. Actually, I reckon that we're just going to be holding here for a bit. So I reckon we're just gonna hold here for a bit before we actually go for another one. But because we've had such a big move to the upside, we've only just started what's called these time phases. So see these phases through here. So we have at least a couple months of just sideways phase from that through there, going on through there. Same for the SI as well too. Big move up. You can see this actually was a resistance level there. We broke up, had a bit of a rejection through there. So yeah, I'm expecting a bit of a rally back up, but I'm not expecting a very big bull market at this level here. I'm expecting just a bit of a what's called a consolidation, bit of a resting phase first, before we then see another move to the upside from here. Now, one thing I really want to also share with you as well too is I've noticed that there's a lot of the actual tech stocks, are setting up for potentially another move, right? So for example, Meta is just going sideways through here. Netflix, right? Netflix, same thing as well too. Just continue to go sideways through here. We have Microsoft as well too, MSFT. Right, same sort of thing here. So I'm actually sensing that a lot of these actual tech stocks, especially things like Microsoft, it looks like it's just basing out here, and things like Microsoft could be getting ready for a really, really, really big move to come. And you see, this is where like my best trades, guys, just a bit of FYI, is whenever we get this sideways pattern to a strong moving average. See how the moving average is coming strong? Look at this back here. See how it went sideways and the strong moving average? As soon as we break out, there's a high probability we're going to be continuing this trend. We're going to go with the trend. So if we do go through there, bit of a breakout, there's a high probability we're likely to see this thing have a nice move back up towards from there as well too. So there we go, traders. That's it for me today. Traders, make sure you grab access to, I've created a brand new book. That's the first thing in the description. Or if you'd like to get access to my 1% club where you're with me every day, and you're struggling, or if you just like to see my equity curve, if you think I'm full of crap and this guy doesn't trade, or you actually like to see my real equity curve for last year, then go to getjohntop.com. There's that link in the description there. Go to there. You'll be able to see the application form. You'll be able to see testimonials of people that have done my coaching, and you'll be able to see my actual real equity curve to show you that I actually do well from trading. And if you are struggling this year and you like to get a real good hand-holding coaching every day to join my 1% club, then fill out the application form, guys, and I'll speak to you guys real soon.